Well, this morning has been pretty wild. A brand new batch of files dropped, but most importantly, I don't want to bury the lead. There was an unindexed file. Essentially, they did not want it public, at least at the time it was public. And inside that file, there were proof, or at least speculation, of up to 10 co-conspirators with Jeffery. Remember, he's the only guy that ever got arrested, other than Ghislaine. 10 co-conspirators, including some wild claims about Trump in there as well, that the left is passing around as absolute fact, and a whole heck of a lot more. I'm going to try to make sense of it all, and I hope you guys appreciate it. I hope you guys are having a Merry Christmas season. I'm going to still keep grinding for you and working so to keep you up to date. But let's get into this. So I want to start with the accidental part they put out. Pam Bondi closed the file saying there were, quote, no co-conspirators, and Epstein did in fact not traffic. An FBI email from 2019 specifically mentioned 10 co-conspirators identified. Other documents claim as many as 20. Even if you somehow think Trump is innocent, it's clear the FBI is in fact protecting criminals. Here we have this email. Of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida and served subpoenas. 1 in Boston, 1 in New York City, and 1 in Connecticut were also located and served. 4 of the 10 are outstanding, with attempts having been made. 1 is a wealthy businessman in Ohio. A lead is being sent to CV. I don't know, there's many abbreviations. Of the remaining 3 currently out of pocket, the team is flying out tonight and tomorrow in various locations in Florida to interview approximately 25 victims. This was an email from 2019, just 6 years ago. Then we go to this. Polymarket says Stephen Colbert, now the number 1 suspect in the Epstein files. I imagine this is a meme. Somebody put $100,000 to smear Colbert. I didn't think he was even... I saw nothing about him being in there, but that's interesting. Then you see this from Brianna Morello. There's an email with the subject, quote, new investigation, that includes a PDF that is labeled EpsteinBlackBook.pdf. In another email, the FBI is sending around a, quote, unredacted version of the Black Book. Now, I was told there was no Black Book. This from DropSite News. Now reporting by CoffeeZilla, working with Jmail and DropSite News shows the Federal Bureau of Investigation inadvertently revealed more than 11,000 previously unreleased Epstein documents, internally labeled Volume 8. They were accessible through an unindexed FBI URL. Essentially, search engines didn't know about it. It was essentially a private URL at the time, or not yet indexed. The files strongly appear to contradict repeated claims by the FBI and the United States Department of Justice that there was no evidence to pursue uncharged third parties. The document references at least 10 alleged co-conspirators, grand jury subpoenas issued across multiple states, we've seen this email now, and notes indicating federal interest beyond Jeffery and Ghislaine, including Les Wexner and a billionaire former CEO of Victoria's Secret and Epstein's longtime patron. Also, there was some embarrassing stuff about Trump, but no real allegations of crimes that I've seen yet. I'm trying to keep up on everything. We have this email from January 2020. For your situational awareness, wanted to let you know that the flight records we received yesterday reflect that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously had been reported or that we were aware, including during the period in which we would expect to charge in a Maxwell case. In particular, he is listed as a passenger on at least 8 flights between 1993 and 1996, including at least 4 flights on which Maxwell was also present. He is listed as having traveled with, among others at various times, Marla Maples, his daughter Tiffany, and his son Eric. On one flight in 1993, he and Epstein were the only 2 listed passengers. On another, the only 3 passengers are Epstein, Trump, and then 20-year-old redacted. On 2 other flights, 2 of the other passengers respectively were women who would possibly be witnesses in the Maxwell case. We've just finished reviewing the full records, more than 100 pages of very small script. But I don't want any of this to be a surprise down the road. Now, Donald Trump has never denied being on the plane. What he's denied is taking part in anything illegal. We all know that there's a lot of people that were on that plane. Bill Gates, Chris Tucker, Naomi Campbell, like all sorts of people had been on that plane. We knew that Trump was on the plane. I think maybe what the FBI really should have done is said, look, if there's no evidence of foul play here, no actual laws being broken, we should be releasing it. But because they redacted it, now you open it up. Now, I'm not saying Trump didn't do anything. I've seen no evidence of it. But again, now this is more information. You see, Volume 8 primarily contains documents and emails related to the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey between the years of 2008 and 2009, and then again for 2019 afterwards. Interesting. Inadvertently is the keyword here. Who is the unsung hero in the agency that leaked the files knowing the euro would be found? Again, we don't know specifically. You see CoffeeZilla. Assistant U.S. Attorney General writes in 2020, Donald Trump traveled on his jet many more times than previously known. Again, that does not mean that he was partaking in anything illegal. What I'm more interested in and what the Democrats will bury is that the FBI under Joe Biden covered up that there were at least 10, as many as 20 co-conspirators, none of which that I know of were charged. That's the real thing. The media is going to focus on that were mentions of Trump, but of course there would be mentions of Trump. Investigators would have been asking repeatedly over and over and over again about it. The documents show that a subpoena was sent to Mar-a-Lago in 2021 for records that pertain to the government's case against Ghislaine, Jeffrey's accomplice in these crimes. They include notes from Assistant U.S. Attorney in New York about the number of times Trump flew on his plane, including one flight included just Trump, Jeffrey, and a 20-year-old woman. Again, a 20-year-old woman, an adult. Now, was she a victim? I don't know. Was she a victim of Trump? There's absolutely no evidence of that. It was probably Jeffrey's personal assistant or one of the many people he took with him to rub his feet, quote unquote, right? There's absolutely nothing in here that implicates Trump in anything, but now the left gets to run absolutely wild. Remember, the president had said he did not know about Jeffrey's criminal behavior, and his spokesman said that he had kicked Jeffrey out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep. The story goes that he was trying to steal away some of the girls that work there for his whatever purposes, business purposes. We don't know exactly. All of these flights, as far as I know, have been explained. There's no evidence that links Trump to this, but now we have another email. This is probably the most damning one. And what it is an unsubstantiated anonymous tip. Okay? It is not evidence of any crime. Now, the left is going to tell you that it is, but it isn't. In fact, the document is real, but it is not proof. It is a 2020 FBI intake form from a recording of a phone tip from an anonymous person, not even a verified police report from 1995. It documents what someone claimed happened 25 years earlier, not what investigations ever found to be true. So somebody called and said that Donald Trump did something terrible, and then that police found the person on Christmas Day. They contacted us to the fact that police had talked to the individual and that she had done good, and they did not hear from them. They reached out stating that she was passed away and noted that she was found missing her head. Officers on the scene and so on stated that there was, quote, no way that they had done it themselves. Again, complete anonymous tip. For all we know, that was meant to smear Donald Trump. This is a real document. You can see this. It came in at 10/27/2020. Gee, what was going on around that? What was going on around that? This was a complete, again, it's a tip. Police should look into it, but they obviously looked into it and found nothing. They say, we're starting to see why Trump was hiding these files. It probably gets much worse. But again, this has 33,000 likes, and all it is an anonymous phone tip. which could have been done by some Democrat operative or some lib person or whatever. Again, I will also say, if Donald Trump did do anything, I would want him prosecuted just like anyone else. This is one thing they say, about Trump voters. I'm a 3-time Trump voter, all right? I'm probably a J.D. Vance voter in 2028 unless something crazy happens. And I would want him in prison for life if he had done anything to kids or anything like this. This link, which is getting passed around, based on hearsay from an unidentified source, essentially an old tip or report submitted to authorities with absolutely no corroborating evidence provided in the files. DOJ explicitly stated that the same documents in the release contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against all sorts of people. These have been out and have zero validity whatsoever, according to reports and investigations. So if they covered, if the FBI covered for Trump, okay, fine, prove that. What I'm interested in is the 10 co-conspirators, with many people saying as many as 20. The left-wing media is going to focus on unsubstantiated, anonymous, quote-unquote tips sent to them by lunatic leftists, which, again, I'm 110% fine with them being investigated. The problem is there's no evidence of it. It's just an anonymous tip. Sensationally, you see his postcard sending to Larry Nassar days before his ending. Our president also shares our love of young, nubile girls. Again, not great. This isn't a great look for Trump, but it is, again, I'm not going to excuse it. But he said Jeffrey claimed that our president loves young, nubile girls in a chilling 2019 postcard he wrote to another creep, Larry Nassar, just days before taking his own life, allegedly. While it was not explicitly named in the note, Donald Trump was serving his first term in the White House. Now, I don't know technically what nubile means. I don't know if that means sub 18 or not. I'm not even going to Google that because I don't want to in my Google search, but I don't think that actually relates to underage women. And I don't think that it's any surprise that Donald Trump likes young women, but at no point has he been, involved with, anybody underage that we know of. Nonetheless, all of this should have been released almost a year ago so that he could, address this and get out in front of it. Instead, it's been dragging on, and it's going to be yet another thing that Democrats will twist. I mean, look, it looks like Michael Jackson on there too. Diana Ross, Bill Clinton, but they're not going to talk about that. They're just going to say, but there's this crazy tip on the tip line about Trump. All of this should have been handled so much better, and now it's just more meat for the leftoids. Prosecute everyone involved. The only thing people need to be worried about is these 10 to 20 co-conspirators that the FBI told us never existed. I hope you're informed by this video. I hope that they get the rest of the files out this week so we can address them, prosecute, and move forward. We'll talk to you again real soon.